In the busy city of Lagos, where dreams rise with the sun and fade with the traffic, where money moves fast, from the skyscraper of Victoria Island to the bustling market of Balogun, lived a man known for his wealth and wisdom, Chief Dike, a business tycoon whose empire stretched beyond borders, a man who turned dust into diamonds, whose name opened doors and whose heart opened hands. He had three daughters, Melissa, Lisa, and Lillian, his pride, his joy, his world. But everything changed on the 24th of June. When death came knocking, it took more than his life. It took the peace of everyone he left behind. That morning, Chief Dike left for a business trip abroad. He hugged his daughters and promised to return with gifts, as he always did. But fate had a different plan. The news came in the evening. The plane had crashed. No survivors. At just 10 years old, their world fell apart. Their father died suddenly, leaving behind a grieving wife, Mrs. Juliet, and three children who barely understand the meaning of loss. Instead of comfort, his brothers brought betrayal. They stripped Mrs. Juliet of every property, every cars, every bank account, because she had no son to inherit the family name, saying she has no place in the family's wealth. Just like that, Mrs. Juliet, who had stood by her husband through thick and thin, was stripped of everything. The woman who once wore gold now struggled to buy garri. Her daughters, who once wore designer shoes, now trekked barefoot in search of help. She begged, she wept, but greed has no ears. But the pain didn't end there. Mrs. Juliet, a vibrant woman, became frail. Her battle with diabetes, worsened by high blood pressure, heartbreak, stress, anger, and betrayal by her husband's brothers. Some nights, she sat by the window, tears rolling down her cheeks, whispering, "Dike, they have taken everything, even our peace." The family had no choice but to leave Ikeja, the city that once held their dreams, and move to Ikorodu, where life was cheaper and survival tougher. Melissa, Lisa, and Lillian watched their mother grow weaker, yet she kept encouraging them. "My daughters, don't let this pain break you. Let it build you." In that little home in Ikorodu, their story changed from riches to resilience, from comfort to courage. They learned that when the silver spoon is taken, you must learn to eat with your hands and still give thanks. Months turned into years. Melissa, the eldest, became the rock, doing odd jobs, tutoring children, and sold small goods just to feed the family and buy her mother's medicine. Lisa and Lillian, still in secondary school, learned too early what it meant to suffer. One hot Sunday afternoon, fate smiled from an unexpected corner. Melissa had gone to a pharmacy store along the dusty street to buy her mother's medication. Sweat clung to her face as she waited by the corner, counting her last 3,000 naira notes nervously. Just then, a sleek white Lexus pulled over in the front of the store. From it stepped a young woman in golden sandal, designer shades, and a scent that turned heads. Melissa looked up and froze. "Melissa," the lady said softly, disbelief dancing in her eyes. "Lizzie," Melissa gasped, heart racing. It was her old classmate, the quiet girl from school who used to sit by the window, now glowing with wealth and confidence. Lizzie smiled warmly and pulled her into a hug. "I can't believe it's you. How have you been?" Melissa forced a smile. "We are managing." Lisa glanced at the drugs on the counter, then at Melissa's trembling hands holding the last note. Without a word, she pulled out her card and said to the cashier, "Please let me pay for that." Melissa's eyes widened. No, Lizzie, you don't have to." Lizzie interrupted gently. "Come on, Melissa. You'd helped me with mathematics back then in school. Let me return the favor." Melissa's voice broke as she whispered, "Thank you." Lisa smiled. "I live in Lekki now. I only came to Ikorodu to see my mom and stopped here to buy bottled water. I didn't know fate would let me see you." She tore a small paper from her notepad and wrote something down, handing it to Melissa. "Here's my address. Come visit me, please. I would love to see you again." Melissa took the paper with shaky hands, staring at the neat handwriting like it was a map to a new world. As Lizzie drove away, the dust followed her car, but this time it carried hope. For Melissa, that small paper was not just an address, it was the beginning of something she never saw coming. Days turned into nights, and nights into thoughts Melissa couldn't shake off. Every time she opened her mother's drop bag, she saw that little folded paper, Lizzie's Lakey address, like a small miracle wrapped in ink. Her mother noticed her silence one evening and asked gently, "Melissa, what is troubling you again?" Melissa hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Mama, I saw Lizzie, my old classmate. She's doing very well now. She even paid for your drugs and invited me to visit her." Her mother's weak eyes softened. "My daughter, go and see her. Sometimes God sends help through people we least expected." That weekend, she boarded a bus from Ikorodu to Lekki. When she arrived at the gate, the security man stared. "Who are you looking for?" "Lizzie." "Elizabeth Nwoko," she replied nervously. Moments later, the gates opened, and there she was, Lizzie glowing in a silk robe, her smile brightening like morning lights. "Melissa, you made it," she said, pulling her into a hug. The sitting room was spotless, the chill of air conditioning, the shine of marble floors, art on the walls, and the sweet smell of vanilla candles. She looked around in awe. "Lizzie, this place is beautiful. You are really doing well for yourself." Lizzie laughed softly, brushing her long hair aside. "God has been faithful, my dear. Come, sit down." They sat on the soft leather couch. Lizzie served her cold juice and peanuts. The two girls talked about old school days, teachers, crush, and dreams. But Melissa couldn't ignore the luxury around her. The gold-trimmed curtains, the designer bags by the wall, the iPhone on the table. Finally, curiosity got the better of her. She asked quietly, "Lizzie, I hope you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living?" Lizzie smiled. That low, knowing smile. She leaned back and crossed her legs. "I am a hair vendor. I sell wigs online. You know, Instagram business. My clients are big ladies. They pay well." Melissa nodded, though something about Lizzie's tone didn't sound complete. She noticed the silence between sentences, the kind that hides truth. Lizzie continued quickly. "You know Lagos. Things are about packaging. Once you look the part, people respect you." Melissa smiled shyly, not wanting to prompt further, but deep inside, she wondered, could a hair vendor really buy such a mansion? The evening sun was melting into gold as Melissa stood to leave. Lizzie walked her to the gate, still smiling, that warm, confident smile. Before Melissa could speak, Lizzie pressed a thick envelope into her palm. "Melissa," she said softly, "this 100,000, please take it. I know life isn't easy in Kurudu. Use it to buy something for your mom and for yourself too. And Melissa, if you ever need help, anything at all, come to me. Don't let pride hold you down. Life favors the bold." Melissa hesitated, tears filling her eyes. "Lizzie, you have done so much already." "Don't say that," Lizzie smiled. "Friends help each other. Lagos is not kind, my dear. Promise me you will come when you need something." Melissa smiled faintly. "I promise." She hugged her tightly. "Thank you, Lizzie. God will bless you." Melissa waved goodbye, her chest full of mixed feelings. She boarded a keke to bus stop, then a bus to Ikorodu. The envelope tucked safely in her bag. By the time she reached Ikorodu, it was dark. Street lights flickered weakly. When Melissa reached home, the compound was quiet. No children playing, no transistor radio, no smell of kerosene from the neighbor's kitchen. Melissa's stomach twist. Mama, she called, pushing the creaky wooden door open. The room was empty. The kerosene lamp was cold. Her mother's slippers lay by the door, one standing, one on each side. The towel on the line, still dripping water on the floor. Lillian, Lisa, she called again, her voice trembling. Just then, Iya Ibeji, their neighbor, rushed out, her wrapper tied carelessly. Melissa, thank God you don't come o. Where you dey since, my pikin? Melissa froze, her heart pounding. Iya Beji, wetin happen? Iya Beji face broke into panic. Na your mama o, she wan baff this afternoon before we hear boom for bedroom. When we rush go, she don fall. Water full ground. We rush am go Ikorodu General Hospital. She no open eye since. We no know if na sugar abi na BP do am. Melissa's hand flew to her mouth. Jesus, Mama, she whispered, her voice shaking. Before Iyabeji could hold her, Melissa turned and ran out of the compound, barefoot, tears burning her cheeks, her heart pounding like thunder. She ran through the streets, past shouting bus conductors and flickering bulbs. Every step felt heavier than the last. Every breath carried one desperate prayer. God, please, don't take my mother from me too. By the time she reached Ikorodu General Hospital, her chest was tight and her breath sharp. Nurse, 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 please, my mother, Mrs. Juliet Okafor. They say she was brought here. The nurse behind the desk looked up, calm but tired. Room 5, emergency ward. She paused for a moment, her fingers trembling on the doorknob. Then she pushed it open. The sight before her made her freeze and cry at the same time. Her mother, Mrs. Juliet Okafor, was awake, weak, pale, but conscious. A bandage wrapped around her head, an IV line running into her tiny arm. Her eyes fluted, slowly open, and when they met Melissa, a faint smile broke across her lips. Melissa, she whispered, her voice weak but gentle. Melissa rushed to her side, dropping to her knees, gripping her mother's hand gently. Mama, oh God, Mama, you scared me. Her tears came freely now, falling onto her mother's blanket. I thought I lost you, Mama. Don't ever do that to me again. Mrs. Juliet smiled faintly, stroking her daughter's hand. I am here, my child. God kept me. Don't cry. It's just small dizziness. Before Melissa could reply, a nurse walked in. Are you her daughter? Melissa quickly wiped her tears and nodded. Yes, nurse. Please, the doctor wants to see you in the consulting room. Down the hall, Melissa's heart sank. Is everything okay? The nurse looked at her gently. Just see the doctor, please. Melissa turned back to her mother. Mama, I will be right back, okay? Her mother nodded weakly. Go, my daughter. God is in control. As Melissa stepped into the hallway, she saw Lisa and Lillian sitting quietly outside the ward, their eyes red from crying. Lillian rushed up to her. Auntie Melissa, how is Mama? Melissa tried to smile. She's awake, thank God. Lisa sighed in relief, whispering, we have been praying since afternoon. Melissa squeezed their hands, then walked down the hallway to the doctor's office, her heart heavy. The doctor's consulting room was cold, the hum of the AC mixing with the faint beaming of machine outside. A middle-aged man in a white coat looked up from a file and adjusted his glasses. You are Mrs. Juliet Okafor's daughter. Yes, sir. He signed, tapping the pen on the folder. Your mother is lucky. The fall could have been worse, but from the symptoms we observed, the dizziness, the partial blackout, and the head injury, we suspect possible internal bleeding or brain trauma. Melissa's heart skipped. Sir, what do you mean? We need to run a brain scan immediately, the doctor said. It's the only way to know if there's a brain damage. Melissa swallowed hard. How much will it cost? The doctor looked at her quietly for a moment, then said, 80,000. It's urgent. The earlier, the better. The number echoed in her head like thunder. 80,000. She blinked fast, her hands shaking slightly. In her bag, Lizzie's envelope, 100,000 naira, just enough. She stared down at the file on the table, her voice barely above a whisper. We will do it, sir. Please just save my mother. The doctor nodded. Go to the nurse station for the payment slip. Once we get the scan done, we will know what to expect. Melissa nodded slowly, stood up and stepped out of the room. The hallway now spinning slightly as tears filled her eyes. Lisa and Lillian looked up anxiously as she approached. Lillian jumped up first. What did the doctor say? Melissa forced a smile. She didn't fail. They will do a brain scan. It costs 80,000 naira. Lisa gasped. Ha! Where will we get that kind of money? Melissa looked at them quietly, her hand tightening around her bag. Her mind flashed to Lizzie's words in Lekki. If you need anything, come to me. But she pushed the thought away and said softly, don't worry, God has already made provision. She opened her bag and pulled out the envelope. We will pay. Mama will be fine. And for a moment, as her sisters hugged her tightly in the corridor, Melissa closed her eyes and whispered under her breath, thank you, Lord. Even when it hurts, you still make a way. Melissa sat on the cold bench, her fingers twisting the hem of her dress as she waited outside the radiography room. Lisa and Lillian sat beside her, silent, too sacred to speak. Through the glass window, they could see the nurse preparing their mother for the brain scan. The white machine hummed quietly, its circular light glowing like the moon. Melissa whispered, God, please, I have seen enough loss in my life. Please don't take her too. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the nurse came out and said softly, you can see the doctor now. Melissa's heart dropped. She stood, her legs weak, and followed the nurse to the consulting room. The doctor was seated, staring at the scan images on his computer. He looked tired but serious, the kind of seriousness that carries bad news. Doctor, Melissa's voice broke. Please tell me she's going to be okay. He looked up, took off his glasses and signed. Melissa, I won't lie to you. The scan shows several brain trauma. Your mother has internal bleeding in her head. She needs urgent brain surgery within the next 48 hours. Melissa's mouth went dry. Surgery? Yes, surgery, the doctor said gently. Without it, she won't survive. The room spun. Lisa gasped quickly. Lillian covered her mouth in shock. Melissa gathered the strength to ask, how much will it cost, sir? The doctor hesitated. That kind of hesitation doctors use before dropping a bombshell. The full procedure, medication, blood, ICU stay is about 2 million naira. For a moment, there was silence, heavy, suffocating silence. Melissa blinked rapidly, as if trying to clear the number from her ears. 2 million, not 200,000, not 500,000, 2 million naira. Sir, we don't have that kind of money, she whispered, voice trembling. I understand, he said softly, but please, time is not your friend. If you can find even a part of it, we can start the process. Melissa nodded slowly, tears blurring her vision. Lisa clutched to her arm. Lillian began to sob. In that moment, she realized in this country, sickness does not just test your faith, it tests your finances. People don't die only because their bodies fail. They die because treatment is expensive. But Melissa refused to break. She heard her sisters close and said, we will find the money. I don't know how, but we will. God didn't bring us this far to leave us here. Like a mad woman, Melissa pushed Lizzie Gates before she thought twice. Her face was streaked with tears. Her breath came in broken gaps. 2 days, 48 hours, every second felt like a countdown. She burst into the living room, raw, unplanned and unannounced. The room was a world away from Ikorodu. Soft lights, smooth leather sofas, and a low table of drinks. Lizzie sat there, laughing, a half-empty glass in her hand. Beside her, a man in a patterned agbada, Chief Achibirako, head cut with the easy confidence of money and years behind him. He was one of Lucy's regular patrons, put together, admired, used to getting what he wanted. When the guests fell silent at Melissa's entrance, the air tightened. Chief Achibirako looked up slowly. His eyes measured her. Then, with a look that mixed appetite, and curiosity. He smiled as if seeing a prize. Lucy's face flickered with something like apology, then business as usual. Her expression and a small nod told Chief Achibirako everything he needed to know. Melissa's voice shook, spilling the truth in one breath. The fall, the hospital, the scan, the 2 million naira, the 48 hours ultimatum. She heard nothing back. Her words were raw, pleading. Lizzie's smile vanished. She set her glass down and shook her head. I don't have that kind of money, she said quietly. I can't raise 2 million naira in 2 days. The chief's face softened into a patronizing grin. He reached into his pocket and let the offer fall like a sentence. He would provide the money Melissa needed, but only if she slept with him. The room went cold. Melissa knee buckled. For a heartbeat, she could not breathe. Rage and humiliation fled into her. She pushed away from Lizzie's sight and turned, anger flooding her, and left the house. Outside on the driveway, wind rocked the palm fronds, and the city distance noise felt suddenly obscene. She ran until the thought of her mother on the hospital bed pulled at her like a physical force. The deadline screamed in her head. 48 hours. Something in her broke. The first refusal had been honest and proud. The second choice was born from a different place. Hunger, fear, the raw need to save the person who had given her life. Melissa stopped, swallowed a scream, and walked back. What followed was not described in detail, you know now. It is enough to say that Melissa agreed, under terrible corrosion of circumstance, to trade her body for the money. Chief and Lizzie treated the agreement as a transaction. Melissa felt the transaction as injury. Afterward, she left with an envelope, held so tightly her fingers ached. She carried the money like a wound. The morning after the storm in Lekki, Melissa arrived at the hospital with an envelope pressed tightly to her chest. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her voice hustling for silence. She walked straight to the next counter and dropped the money. Please, she said softly, go ahead with the surgery. My mother must not die. When Lisa saw the envelope, her mouth fell open. Melissa, how did you get this amount of money? Melissa froze, her heart racing. Lizzie, she lied quietly. She borrowed me the money. I will pay her back. Lisa's eyebrow drew closer. Eh? Lizzie has this kind of money. Yes, Melissa replied quietly, avoiding her sister's eyes. But please, don't tell Mama. She will only worry. Let's just thank God that help came. Lisa nodded slowly, still confused, but didn't push further. 2 days later, the surgery was carried out. The hours crawled like years. The sisters sat side by side in the waiting room, holding hands, praying, whispering scriptures through their tears. Then, at last, the doctor walked out with a tired smile. She made it. The operation was successful. Melissa fell to her knees, weeping uncontrollably. Lisa and Lillian hugged her tightly as the hallway was filled with quiet sob of relief. Thank you, Jesus, Melissa whispered. Thank you, Father, Lisa and Lillian whispered. A week later, Mrs. Juliet was discharged, weak but smiling. Back in their small Ikorodu home, the family praised God loudly. Neighbors stopped by to rejoice. For the first time in months, peace returned. But the peace didn't stay long. When you borrow a miracle, you pay interest in unexpected ways. A month later, something began to trouble Melissa. Watch out episode 2 to know what happened to Melissa, Mrs. Juliet, Lizzie, Lisa, and Lillian. Bye. I love you all.